Hello, welcome back to the channel of Motorbike Nonsense. Over the past few weeks, I've been more surprised than a penguin in the Kalahari Desert at how popular my videos on the new BMW R12 retro cruiser thing have been. I've been living with this bike for a few weeks. I've been lucky enough to go to Portugal to ride it back to back on twisty roads with its bigger brother, the R12 9T. And this is my final review, my final thoughts on this bike. So there have been lots of other videos on the channel, comparisons and things like that, but this is the one where I don't talk about anything but this bike and nothing else. And penguins. But anyway, let's go. Right, as usual, we're going to talk about the price to start with, to give this bike some context. This costs £11,990 in the UK, but that is for a black one. You can pay £600 more for a red one. I think BMW calls it Aventurin Red Metallic, but it's kind of like a dark red that gets a bit brighter in sunshine, whatever that is. Or you can pay an extra £2,100 for this, the option 719 Thorium, which does sound a bit like a drug that you take at night to make the voices in your head stop, but there we go. That turns the paintwork into Avus silver, but it also gives you some other bits for that money. You get some option 719 billet trinkets, the filler cap, the headers there, the levers, which are some of the best levers in the business, purely because the span adjuster is... oh, it does things to be deep inside. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see it. It's etched with the BMW logo and feels very, very satisfying to use. Also, the mirrors get changed as part of this pack as well, and you get these reservoir covers. So you are getting quite a lot, not just paintwork, for that, what was it, £2,100? And I think it looks quite nice. Now, I keep getting told off on YouTube for calling this bike a single-seater, because clearly it's not a single, no, it is a single-seater. Shut up, Jeremy, the commenter. But you can actually pay £200 to have the pillion pack added, which gives you a second seat and, quite helpfully, pillion pegs as well. So yeah, you can turn it into a two-seater, but it isn't one as standard. I forgot to say you get the option 719 seat, which is the same shape, but a bit nicer materials and a bit nicer stitching than the standard one. I think the weakest part of this bike in terms of its looks is the mag wheels. I think they look a little bit like they've been designed to make you buy the more expensive spoked wheels, which do come in gold or silver, and I would be doing that if I was going to buy one of these. Now, I talked about the chassis stuff in my comparison video that's already up. That's with the R12 9T. But yeah, you basically got 19-inch front, a 16-inch rear on this, and the same brakes as the R12 9T. So they're proper big 4-piston Brembo monoblocks with loads of bite, loads of power. Absolutely not a problem slowing this bike down. You've got less suspension travel on this than the R12 9T, so I think it's 90mm. These aren't really fully adjustable forks, well, they're not at all fully adjustable forks, as you'll see up here. So it is a cheaper bike than the R12 9T. This one is about 15 grand though, with all the options, because it's got the comfort pack, which gives you heated grips, cruise control, and also the up-down quick shifter. I think that's about 900 quid, and I would definitely spec this with that pack, because it really does, or that quick shifter blipper, make it a real hoot to ride. Now, the digital dashboard, that is 120 quid. And it is totally worth it, because I just think it looks really cool, but as I've said repeatedly, it doesn't have a fuel gauge. Shows you your temperature, tyre pressures, all that good stuff. MPG, you've got 2 trips in there, but it can't show you your fuel gauge. You can put it in something called a pure ride mode, which literally just shows you this stuff, the speed and the gear, nothing else. And the idea being that it frees up your brain because it's so baffled by seeing your revs. Now, if you don't pay 120 quid for this, you do just get a speedo, or you can pay something ridiculous like 450 quid to have something added, which BMW calls rotational speed sensor. That's a rev counter. Yeah, £454 for a rev counter if you don't want to go the digital route. Oh yes, one other thing this bike has, which I should really mention, is £280 of connected ride control, which lets you Bluetooth your phone to the bike. It adds this SP Connect phone connector thing. I think that one's upside down. I think that bit's meant to be at the top. But whatever. And then that turns your phone, using the BMW app, into a second display with sat-nav on it. And you control that using this, much like you would on a GS controlling your sat-nav. As standard, this is there, but it doesn't actually do anything. It only controls stuff on your phone, and you use this to go through the menus and all of that jazz. Now, you might be wanting a bit of weather protection on your R12, and you can add a big kind of American cruiser style screen, but it's so expensive. It's 760 quid. It's not the prettiest thing. It looks pretty brutally efficient though, as is the engine. We've got to talk about the engine, haven't we? You know what it is. It's the 1170cc air and oil cooled boxer twin. It's a bit grubby down there on this one, and because this is the option 719, you get shinier pipes as standard. We're talking 95 horsepower, 110 newton meters of torque, which is absolutely stonking at 6,000 RPM. And BMW says this will do 0-62 in 3.9 seconds. The seat height is ridiculously low. In my comparison video, you would have seen my beer belly out in Portugal riding this. I make it look very silly, not just because I'm fat, because I'm tall as well. It's just under 30 inches, the seat height, that's 754 mil. And the whole kit and caboodle, fully fueled, weighs 227 kilograms. But yeah, that's about it, really. I should talk about the fact there's no proper rear light, and you do get a 12-volt small DIN socket in there, and you get USB-C, which is weatherproofed all the way around here. I like that because BMW is treating you like a grown-up who might want to put a phone on the handlebars, and you can just charge it, run a little cable up there. Right, that's the last of me you're going to see here in Blighty with the R12. We're going to cut to the riding now, in the middle of things, on a pretty hectic ride over in Portugal, and I'll do my outro from there as well a couple of days ago. But thank you for watching so far and sharing your enjoyment of this bike, because I've really bloody loved it. Hopefully I say that in the conclusion. I think I did. But yeah, let's go to Portugal to ride this bike. Right, welcome back to the R12. Somewhere slightly warmer, slightly drier than Surrey. I'm out here in Bognor Regis, lovely Bognor Regis, for a slightly more dynamic ride of the bike that I've had back in Surrey for the past couple of days. And it has uncovered already some I guess, some flaws with the bike, some things that you might want to be aware of that I haven't discovered riding around badger-strewn roads back in Blighty. Namely, it decks out. It decks out reasonably easy. I don't ride particularly aggressively or particularly fast on the road, and I've already decked it out on the left-hand side and the right-hand side because the pegs are reasonably low, I guess. I'm a bit of a lump on it as well. So yeah, those pegs might be good for comfort and confidence, but they chirp quite a few corners, and then you get a little bit of a, ooh, should I be riding this fast on this? But actually, the handling is really good. Up to that point, it's a really enjoyable bike that you want to push. You want to push into corners, yeah, it takes a little bit more leverage than you might think to get it turned, but once it is turned, look, you can rail around here, full throttle, and have a really good time until you hit a bump and it dislocates your coccyx on the corner exit like that. But the engine is still really the treat on this bike for me. It is just such a characterful lump. It pulls really hard, so you can go into the back of username Kate in front, who's flicking mud at me. Gosh, probably should be a bit further back, but yeah, it's a really enjoyable bike to ride. It's, I'd say, handles a lot better than many cruisers I've ridden from an English brand that rhymes with Blyumph, things like the Speedmaster and that kind of stuff. I haven't ridden any modern Harleys, so I know a few of you have been asking how does it compare to a Harley, this, that, the other. I just don't know, because I haven't ridden a Harley since, well, the electric one. Oh, yeah, foot down, everything down around there, and that wasn't massive lean angle, so I know one of you in the comments are saying, what's the lean angle like? It's not great, it's not great, and I'm going to do a comparison video between this and the R12 9T. I expect that has much more ground clearance, where the limit on a road will be your brain, and certainly my brain. The back brake is worth a mention on this, because it is quite powerful and it's actually quite useful. If you're a back brake dragger, this has a pretty decent back brake. Not loads of feel, but it does slow down and stop you. Now, one thing I would get, if I was going to get one of these, would be the comfort pack, because that gives you heated grips and the auto blipper and quick shifter, or whatever BMW calls that combo. And actually the quick shifter blipper is quite nice on this engine. It's a lot smoother than on, I'd say, the liquid cooled BMW Boxer twins like the R1250. I haven't ridden the 1300, we're not decking out around there, but yeah, this is pretty surreal. I keep thinking Kate is pointing out stray dogs or something, but she's not. She's just saying, well, look at the scenery, isn't it lovely, for her video. That drive out of the corner is really nice. It's not completely mental. It's not as strong as on the 1250 engine, or I guess now the 1300 engine, but it is decent. It looks like a retro bike, this, but you can ride it like a modern one. We're going to get some chirping around here, and then you can just leave it in third as well. The engine is very tractable, but pulling out there 50 kilometers an hour in third, and it will go. It will go. And if you turn the TC off, you can do cheeky little clutch ups off crests and things like that. If you're a bloody hooligan, and I'm not, So yeah, that is really what I've learned about this bike, riding it a bit faster on slightly nicer roads. Handling good, limited by ground clearance. There we go. Brakes also strong. And really, no other wibbles, other than, oh, my spine, over things like that. Delightful. Boom, go down to first using the blipper. And the whole bike rocks from side to side. Now, for most of the time I've been living with the R12 over the past couple of weeks, I've mostly had it in rock mode, and that really does sharpen up the throttle response, and it also makes the idle uneven, as I think I might have mentioned in this video or another video, and it does feel far more savage on the throttle. As savage as these oil cooled engines get, it's pretty abrupt off bottom end. But now I've got it in roll mode, it's a completely different animal. I mean, when you twist the throttle to 100%, you do get 100%, but it's just much smoother at throttle open. It's not as abrupt, and it actually really changes the character of the bike. So there we go, I've tried roll mode, and it does make it more of a chilled out cruiser. Now I'm going back to rock mode because, well, I should say, for those who are about to rock, we salute you. Here's a 7.9% APR deal. We're going to salute you with that. Let's head back to me, possibly here in Bognor Regis, or maybe back in Surrey for a conclusion. Yippee. Right, I've come to the end of my time with the BMW R12. We started this video in Surrey, we're ending it in Bognor Regis next to this boating lake. And to be honest, let's start with the dynamics of the bike, because that's the bit I've uncovered more about here in Bognor Regis. And it is a really good handling bike. It handles better than you might think a cruiser would handle, up to a point, and that is probably about 35 degrees of lean angle, where if you weigh 100 kilograms like me, you'll be smashing your hero blobs harder than a 19-year-old Casanova on a first date. It does deck out a bit, but there are lighter people here, such as username Kate, who's over there behind the camera. She's not been decking out at all, and she's faster than me, so I think it's more of a mass issue than a riding skill issue. But the rest of the bike, I've fallen in love with it a little bit. That engine is an absolute honey. 1170cc of pure torque and loveliness. You do miss a little bit of top end, but this bike's never been about that. It's been about punching out of corners harder than a rabbit will kick you in the nadgers if you try and catch it in a field on a dark night. The mirrors even work. It's got a beautiful digital dash. All the modern accoutrements are there. The lean sensitive traction control and ABS as well. So yeah, it's a really compelling bike. I do look a bit daft on it because I'm up here, the bike is down there, and the seat for me is about a 40-mile seat before I start to get a bit fidgety. But hey, it's a cruiser, and the aftermarket for this bike is going to be huge as well. So yeah, it's full of character. It handles really well. There are some annoyances, like there's no fuel gauge, there's no range readout. The brakes are really sharp. The quick shifter blipper is well worth speccing. I really like that. You can get it with heated grips. It's got cruise control. BMW have fully thought it out. I guess the last negative is the big old swinging dong of the price. 12 grand sounds like a bit of a billy bargain, but it's easy to push up to £15,000, at which point you're probably going to look at some other stuff. But yes, as the baby cruiser in BMW's range under the R18, I've been really impressed with it. And I'm not really a cruiser guy, but hacking around these mountain roads, it has been mega fun. So yeah, I'm going to give it 7.5 Tim Roadies out of 10. Good bike.